Madam Vice President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and representatives of the civil society, it's my honor to address the Human Rights Council and to present a report on the activities of the Working Group on Arbitrary Detention for 2024. Behind every case in our files, it is a person whose freedom was taken unlawfully, a life interrupted, a family torn apart by executive power, arbitrary exercise of power. And I come before you today with both profound concern and cautious hope. Concern because arbitrary detention continues to plague our world, and 149 individuals across 41 countries who received our opinions in 2024 represent merely the tip of an iceberg of injustice. But also hope, because this Council's unwavering support has transformed our mandate into a mechanism that actually changes lives and delivers results. The Working Group on Arbitrary Detention is a unique special procedure mandate. It's a lifeline. When we commemorated our 100th session last year, former detainees spoke in this very building, living proof that your commitment to this mandate saves lives. In 2024, 45 individuals walked free because this working group exists, because this council believes in justice, and because the international community refused to let them be forgotten. From 16 releases in 2021 to 45 in 2024, those numbers tell a story of growing impact of a mandate that has found its strength and purpose. Madam Vice President, looking to the specifics of the year 2024, the Working Group adopted a total of 71 opinions concerning, as I've just mentioned, the detention of 149 persons in 41 countries. It transmitted 30 appeals to 16 governments and 102 letters to 52 governments concerning at least 556 individuals. Some states informed the working group that they had remedied the situation of arbitrarily detained individuals, and we continue to learn about further releases in 2025. We extend our gratitude to those governments that release detainees subject to our opinions and urge for full implementation of the opinions. Madam Vice President, the working group continues to deliver results despite significant obstacles. While we maintain our efficiency in processing cases, a troubling pattern persists. Nearly 6 out of 10 states do not respond to our communications. This 58% of silence rate in 2024 shows states are failing their most basic obligation to engage with this Council's mechanisms. However, we see progress in what matters most, implementation. Follow-up information reached 85% in 2024, up from 79% the previous year, proving that when states engage, real changes happen. Most gravely, however, we continue to receive reports of reprisals and intimidation against those seeking our help or providing information to us. This is unacceptable. We remind all states of their obligations under Human Rights Council resolutions to protect, not punish, those who cooperate with United Nations human rights mechanisms. We further call on all states, respond to our communications. Your silence prolongs suffering. Your engagement saves lives. Madam Vice President, on thematic issue, we examined alternatives to pretrial detention, a critical area where theory and practice often diverge tragically. Too many people sit in cells today because they cannot pay their bail. Across jurisdictions, bail systems have become instruments of arbitrary detention in disguise. When bail amounts are punitive or deliberately excessive, they turn presumption of innocence into a privilege for sale. This perverts the very purpose of bail. The working group emphasizes three fundamental principles. First, pretrial detention must remain exceptional, not rule. Second, alternatives must be practical and proportionate. When bail conditions become impossible to fulfill, they simply replace one form of arbitrary detention with another. Third, bail amounts must reflect individuals' real financial circumstances and not offense severity. Madam Vice President, the working group visited Canada in May 2024. It went to 7 federal, 6 provincial, 2 municipal, and 2 indigenous facilities and confidentially interviewed 103 persons deprived of their liberty. We express appreciation to the federal and provincial governments for their cooperation to the delegation received during the country visit. Positive changes are being made across Canada in relation to the deprivation of liberty. Those include mainly lawful arrest procedure without excessive force, significant decrease in both overall and youth incarceration rate, reforms that prioritize alternatives to detention, more restorative justice mechanism and community programs, latter principle regarding pretrial detention and less reliance on cash bail, legal aid and culturally appropriate rehabilitation programs for indigenous offenders. However, the working group also observed several challenges within the criminal justice system, namely bail systems problems affecting marginalized communities, police interrogation without a lawyer, practices in the plea bargaining system that raise significant ethical and legal concerns, weak community support for supervision and reintegration, detention conditions in correction facilities that often fail to meet international standards, overrepresentation of indigenous people and people of African descent in the criminal justice system, and adult sentences imposed on youth. In the context of healthcare, the working group observed some challenges, including de facto indefinite detention of persons with psychosocial disabilities and increasing proposals for involuntary drug treatment. Lastly, in the context of migration, we observed the lack of a maximum detention period, prison-like detention conditions, and limited access to legal aid. We reiterate our appreciation to the Government of Canada for the invitation and for the cooperation throughout. We intend to continue constructive dialogue with the government on those issues. Madam Vice President, we face hard truths. Cases pile up faster than we can process them. UN budget constraints limit our capacity when demand for justice grows daily. Yet we continue because we must, because every day of delay means another night in unjust cell. Your support is not just appreciated, it's essential. Without adequate resources, we cannot deliver justice this mandate's promises. Madam Vice President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and representatives of the civil society, the moment has come to move beyond words. We call on all governments, take further steps necessary to remedy the situation of all individuals deprived of liberty without delay. As Elie Wiesel, Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor, powerfully put in, action is the only remedy to indifference, the most insidious danger of all. The world is watching. History will judge us not by the resolution we pass, but by prison doors we open to those who should not be there. Thank you, Madam President.